All right. Thanks everybody for joining back. I made a bunch of progress on Closer Academy over the last week. I was up pretty late on the weekends till one day, like 4 in the morning. And I just like came into the zone and I just started building. I was definitely like, damn, I wish I hit the record button, but honestly, I was just laying on the couch, just hanging out one night by myself, and I made a ton of progress on the app. So I'll just spend like 10 minutes going over the progress that I made and showing you guys my implementation. That way you can be caught up as much as possible. I honestly probably think that like you guys just want to see me launch this thing anyways. So I think fast forwarding a little bit isn't a bad idea. However, I don't want to keep you in the dark. I'll go through and tell you kind of what I did. So I went through the app and kind of polished up some of the basic UI. Some of this UI I did very scrappily, like as I was building it in the beginning. So this is what my login screen looks like. Onboarding three was still my like page where I was submitting the audio to the AI. And so I actually worked on that a bit too. And I'm using the built-in voice recorder. Um, so I'm using the built-in voice recorder, and I actually haven't had a chance to test this. I was told that it works perfectly if you use a mobile device. So I'm kind of trusting the fact that it works. And then um, today we'll try to actually like test this on my mobile. Um, yeah, so this is kind of the main screen. And I got a lot of the basic functionality working with you guys on the call last time. So that's good. I didn't really make any changes to onboarding. I think onboarding's still the same. However, some of you guys were just in the call right before this. I am going to be incorporating potentially a couple more onboarding screens as we build out what we call the design lab design system. Um, I did come up with some variations of a paywall. I brought in my paywall from Virally, and started kind of customizing it, but pretty much just copied and pasted it over here. This might be the paywall that I go to market with. I kind of adjusted this paywall a little bit too. Um, yep. So I got two paywalls. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use yet. And we still have the processing submission screen. And then this screen, I'm not sure why this fill color changed. I'm going to move this back to purple. Um, I created a page called Call Recordings, and my strategy here is going to be to have a page that you can access from your profile tab. So this is my profile tab, by the way. I added an icon here for Discord because I'm going to have a Discord community. As you all know, I'm a big believer in like building community as you build your app. So I've already spun up a Discord server. I'll share the link of that server with you guys. I haven't really posted anything in there or even started it, but I will, because in the next couple weeks I'm going to start marketing the app. Um, as I build it with all of you. So pretty much I have a Discord community here, and I'll post the link in the chat, and I'll also send the link to the Discord in our Discord. Cool. So essentially, yeah, like have a Discord here, and then I have um two pieces of text at the top, free and premium, because I want to differentiate, free users from premium users. And I have a conditional right here that says is premium. Premium is just a property that I've indicated on my user object here. I have is premium and the type is a Boolean. So essentially when somebody buys the premium version of Dreams, or excuse me, the premium version of Close Your Academy, we're going to update their user attribute, and I'll show them the right um, piece of text here. Then we have the email address. I'm probably going to have some sort of functionality to update a user profile image. I have two switches here. One is for make profile public and one is for open for recruiting, because I want people to be able to set on their account if they want to be recruited for a job. Um, and then profile public pretty much means like, hey, like this account can be featured on the community tab that we're going to have. Audio recordings. I want users to be able to have access to their audio recording. So that's why I created this call recordings tab. And on the profile page, if somebody clicks on this, it takes them to call recordings. Edit profile. Actually, I don't have an edit profile yet, so we'll just delete this because I don't want to have features that I um, I don't want to have links to features that I don't plan on building for V1. So for right now, we'll just have make profile public, open for recruiting, audio recordings. I think those are some features that I definitely want. And then we actually need a delete account. Like that's actually important. So when somebody clicks this, we will update this to delete account. You actually need a delete account. You actually need a delete account in order to go live on Apple. So unfortunately, we have to add this and I'll make it red. Okay, cool. That's probably all we'll have here on the profile page. Don't really want to overcomplicate this. Homepage is where I made a ton of progress. I started thinking through what my daily routine is going to look like for my end user, right? Like, what is this user going to do every time they open the app? And I modeled it kind of after Duolingo, Calm app, Blinkist. There's a bunch of bite-sized learning apps that I modeled. I'm not sure how much y'all know, but like uh, when I initially went out to build Ambitious Labs, I actually was building a app at first. It was called Ambitious App, and um, the app was actually quit my job to build an app, and then I raised money to build an app. And then we ended up pivoting into the boot camp because no code was blowing up, and I thought this was a lot more fun to build a boot camp. Um, so that's a secret between all of us on this call. However, I learned a lot. We spent over, $20,000 hiring like boutique uh, UI UX designers, and that's where I kind of learned the anatomy of how to build a successful, onboarding flow and a high converting flow. So, we built out all these designs, and essentially where I'm going with this is we created this like daily mission type of experience. Where did it go? We created this like daily mission type of experience here where I don't really see it. But essentially, like you had this daily mission that you would have to, finish. And these daily missions were done in a way where you kind of had this like card view. There was also another app called uh there was also another app called Reframe, which was like an alcoholic kind of sobriety app. Oh, here we go. There we go. This is what we were trying to build at the time. Wow, this is actually so fun to look at. But this was actually the initial UI UX of like, okay, every day a learner is going to come to this page. And as a learner, my job is to finish my bite-sized lessons every day. And it was kind of curated like a path like this. Um, so this was the UI UX that I went for, where you had like daily mission, and then you could talk to your career coach. That was kind of like my story at the time, but we ended up pivoting from this. This was kind of the course experience, but we actually never ended up launching this. And the reason why was because um, never ended up launching this because we realized that it was much harder for us to like drive success for the students of an app. So we ended up pivoting to a boot camp because we just felt it was a lot more like predictable if the users of the boot camp would be successful as opposed to like users of this. So um yeah, as you can see, we still embodied a lot of the same principles. And I'm getting kind of carried away, so let me pull back out. My point is that I'm embodying a lot of the same principles of this and this like learning experience in Closure Academy. So pretty much how this is going to work is that every day a sales rep is going to land on this page and they can complete their free training. I'll probably have this top one be the free one every day, and then these bottom two ones are going to be the premium ones where they have to like actually unlock access to get access to the bottom two. Okay. So pretty much nothing works. Uh I just created the UI. However, where am I getting this data from? Well, I did make some progress there too. I'm now pulling this data from the database. So I have this database called Plan for Today, and essentially I'm just loading the exact same uh like three lessons for everybody in the app. I will create an algorithm that like randomizes all these plans for today, but essentially what I'm doing is creating just a bunch of challenges, and I will be like shuffling them up and then delivering them every day to somebody here. I'm not sure what my strategy is going to be algorithmically yet, but I'm just trying to prove like, can I get three things to show up here? Can I build it in a way where it's like random? Because I have this plan for today. I have this plan for today. Um, Database collection, and I'm just going to try to shuffle them up and deliver them here. Okay. Then we have previous challenge submissions where every time you submit your challenge, you will see a history of all that here, and you can probably click on it, and then I'll show you like the previous call recording, or I'll show you like a details view of that challenge submission. I haven't been saving the challenge submission, so this data doesn't work. The profile, like I said, definitely exists. I'm not sure why I can't get rid of this tab bar. Like I've been like trying to. Um, I was doing that over the weekend too, and like there's no app bar that exists here, and I don't see a reason why. Maybe it's in my nav bar settings. Show nav bar. Yeah, so I got to get rid of this. I don't want a header. Add app bar on new pages. I actually don't want this header. Oh yeah, we don't want add app bar. There you go. So that should take care of that. Okay, cool. So today, what do I want to do today? Today, I want to get the main functionality working, because once this main functionality of, onboarding three works and I can like test this, we pretty much have an app that we can ship. So that's like my main focus. So that's the thing. Like, I haven't been able to test this on desktop. So we have two options really. Well, we only really have one option. The only option is that we need to learn how to use the FlutterFlow local device tester. I haven't done that before, so let's look that up. I want to learn how to test my FlutterFlow app on my local device. So they have the FlutterFlow desktop app, which I haven't installed yet. So let's first do that. FlutterFlow desktop app. Okay. So first, we need to activate Mac OS beta here, which makes perfect sense. So we'll head to FlutterFlow, we'll find platforms and enable Mac OS beta. That's good. Make design adjustments. We won't do that right now. Use local run in the FlutterFlow desktop app. So I'm going to head over here and download the desktop app. Cool. What else does it want me to do? Um, I guess once I download the desktop app, it's going to take me through like a Flutter install. I already have Flutter, so this should work. Um, IDE, I already have an IDE, code export, and it looks like I'm going to need to plug in my device. So, okay, we'll work through all of this right now. And I will need a iOS cable, which I don't have. So as we wait for this to download, which it actually looks like it's just finished. I'm going to go ahead and download this, and then I'm going to go run to the room and grab my charger. Okay, so I can sign in here. Ron, how did I make the audio animation? I went over to Lottie files and I Just literally searched like audio waveform. And this is just like a animation that I grabbed from here, like one of these. And pretty much I just used the FlutterFlow Lottie widget. And all this is a Lottie animation that points to that. So pretty cool little hack. It makes it look nice and professional. Okay. I'm actually going to start using the FlutterFlow desktop app. I kind of like this. Does anybody else use the desktop app? Okay, cool. Right here it says local run status at the top right, set up local run. So I'm going to toggle that and I'm going to go through this onboarding process. Number one, set up Flutter. Flutter SDK is required. I should already have the Flutter SDK. I have Xcode installed. I have CocoaPods installed. If you don't, then I would click on these two links and go through that. Xcode is the development environment for iOS. And then CocoaPods, as funny as it sounds, that's actually the package manager for iOS apps. So you would use something called pods. Think about like Flutter dependencies if you ever came across that. Essentially, CocoaPods are the same as like Flutter dependencies. And if those words are completely foreign to you, pretty much what that means is that every programming framework has something called packages, which are like plugins. You probably used WordPress or Shopify or some sort of tool that has a plugin, right? Like a plugin is something that you add on to a piece of software or like you add on to, a system. So Cocoa Pods are plugins for iOS apps. Essentially, think about it this way. If I wanted to implement sign in with Google on an iOS app, there's probably a sign in with Google Cocoa Pod that I would then bolt on to my iOS app. Cocoa Pods aren't really like something that you need to think about when you're working with Flutter because essentially Flutter has Flutter dependencies, which are the same thing called pub.dev, right? Pub.dev is like the Flutter Flutter like package manager. And when you use Flutter packages, it will handle the Cocoa Pods for you. So you don't really need to think about, the Xcode or the Cocoa Pods that much. You will if you get very advanced, but honestly, like with this setup, you won't really have to think about it. I'm just kind of educating you just so you are aware next time you see it. While this downloads, give me a moment. I'm going to go get my iPhone cable. Sweet. So I found my iPhone cable. Luckily, it was pretty close. And I'm going to plug my iPhone cable in. Yeah, Phil, if you even got this to get set up on a PC, you are an absolute legend. CocoaPods and Xcode is not available for PC. You have to have a Mac. So I'm not even sure how you did that. That must have been crazy. Xcode and iOS typically don't work on Mac. So legend. And cool. Oh, use Android Studio. Nice. Well, at least you were able to get it going. And yeah, 3 days sounds like reasonable. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get this right the first time. So we'll find out together, everyone. But I'm actually pretty excited for this because now I'll be able to quickly test my audio widget and I can move a lot faster. I was just kind of waiting, and I was also sitting on the couch over the weekend. I wasn't really trying to go through this whole setup. I was trying to move pretty quickly. So I started working on other features. So as just so you guys know, like my plan of attack right now, is to do the following. I actually wanted to set up a Trello board, which we can all do together, so that I can start chipping away at the features that I need to complete before I go live. So I'm gonna head over to Trello and create a new board. Doesn't look like, so we'll say Closer Academy. I'll use an existing board. Pretty sure I don't use this one. Yeah, this is the board from a long time ago. So we'll just find an existing board. I'm surprised it says like 3 remaining. I'll just use the old. This is crazy. It's not letting me. There we go. I'm gonna use this board. I'm gonna bookmark this. Cool. So I'm going to create my columns: backlog, which is just a list of all the features that I want; selected for development, which are the features that I'm going to prioritize; in progress is in progress; QA are features that are done that I need to test; and then done is always going to be features that um, are absolutely done, shipped, and could be shipped to production. So I'm going to start filling up my backlog. I will say backlog will be onboarding flow. As a user, as a new user, I can onboard into the app and complete my first challenge. As a user, I can view my daily training plan of exercises that update daily. As a user, I can complete my, here we go. As a free user, I can complete my free training for the day. As a free user, when I tap on a premium exercise, I am prompted to upgrade to Closer Academy Pro. As a user, I can view a list of all my previous challenge submissions. As a user, I can tap on a challenge submission and view its details, like the name, challenge details, and a link to the audio recording. Right. Cool, cool, cool. What else? As a user, I can view a list of all audio recordings associated to my profile. As a returning user, I can see a list of random of 3 random exercises that I need to complete on a daily basis. Cool. So what I'm working on right now, all these are selected for development, by the way. These are all things I need to go live. Wow, I can't speak. The one thing I want to work on today is, as a new user, I can onboard into the app and complete my first challenge. And then also, as a sales rep, I can submit a challenge by providing an audio recording of my response. Cool. Those are two things I want to work on. I want to work on the onboarding flow for someone to complete their first challenge. And then I want to uh, pretty much build the functionality where a rep can submit the challenge. So these are the first two things I'm going to focus on, and then we'll hack away at the rest. Cool. Looks like this is still working. So in the meantime, we'll kind of talk through the onboarding flow because that's something I'm a little concerned about. So when a user logs onto my app, they are going to see this page. They'll hit get started. That takes them to login. That's good. Login is here. Create account is here. When they click on create account, that will take them to onboarding question 1. That's good. Boom. What are you looking to achieve? Good. What are you struggling with? Good. And then once they do that, it's going to take them to onboarding 3, which is complete your first challenge. Okay. They're going to click get started. That updates the page state. Well, first they hit get started. That's going to request permissions. If permissions is granted, then it's going to start the audio recording. Updates the page state to say that we're recording. It does it twice. I want to remove this second one. Okay. And then it hits this custom action start text recording. This is a custom action that I was experimenting with that actually does the transcription on the front end, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Essentially, all I want to do is start the audio recording using the native FlutterFlow audio widget, update the page state. And here on this side, I have a snack bar that says we need to access your microphone if the condition doesn't exist. So good. I think this is totally fine and we're good here. Okay, then what happens is this Lottie animation is showing when recording equals true, and this button also shows when the recording equals true. When that button is clicked, we do stop audio recording, update the page state, we upload the files to Firestore. I think we're doing this twice. Okay, we'll keep that there. Then we call this custom action stop text recording. I'm going to disable this for right now because I think that was working this weekend. I just wasn't 100% sure. So I'm just going to disable it. Then backend call, submit response to the sales coach. Essentially, I'm sending the challenge ID and then the audio input path. This challenge ID right here is a random integer because I don't have a challenge ID that I'm reading from this page. As you might remember, last time we did set up a challenges database, but what I haven't done yet is actually read that data onto the page. So it's right now it's a random integer. Let me see where I left off there. We do have challenges. And then right here, I'm actually reading the challenge. Well, hold on. Single document. So actually, I do have that data. So I'm actually wrong. I just forgot. So here, I'm actually going to change this challenge ID from random integer to challenges document and then challenges reference. So now at least I have the challenge ID going in there. Good. Cool. So then once I make the API call, I'll show a snack bar that says submitted and a snack bar that says oops, an error occurred. So if it's submitted, I'm actually going to add an action that moves me to the processing submission page. Okay. We won't allow back navigation. I'm actually going to remove this. So then it navigates us to the processing submission page. We end up here at processing submission, which is good. I'm going to open the action flow editor and first do a wait. So I'm going to wait probably 2 seconds. I'm going to wait 2 seconds. That's going to give it the feeling that the AI is processing. All right. And then we'll navigate to call summary page. Okay. However, what I need to do here is we need to know we need to have some context about the call, about the submission that was sent, right? Like essentially what needs to happen is when when this submission is done processing, it needs to return me a submission ID. So essentially what needs to happen is we need to insert a submission into the database so that we have the submission data by the time we get to that next page. Um, that's something that I'm not sure is happening right now. So let's actually go test that. And if it's not happening, we need to make it happen. So let's head back to API calls. And I'm just going to test this one out. Let's open up BuildShip. Okay. So we have submit response. We have the test, challenge ID, and then like audio input path. I'll copy this. So challenge ID is here. And then like audio input path. Copy this one. Okay. Test this API call. And essentially what we need to happen is, yeah, we need to save this submission data into the database. Like I need to save all this to the database. Like the challenge data is fine because I remember back at BuildShip, we're actually getting the challenge from FlutterFlow, excuse me, from Firestore. But we actually need to now save this response text into a submissions table. So we have a submissions table here. And as of right now, the submissions table just has date submitted. I'm going to say that every submission has to have a challenge ID, and we're going to make a document reference to a challenge. Okay. That way, all we need to do is link the challenge ID and we'll have access to the challenge. Cute, cool. The next step is we'll say full text feedback. This is just going to be a string that we can save all of that text feedback to. I probably will want to break it up, right? Because my Closure Academy like summary page, like we're going to have a JSON object. We talked about this last time, right? Like I told you that we're going to need a feedback JSON and then an action plan JSON so that we can actually map this data correctly. However, I am not 100% ready for that yet. What I want to focus on is actually submitting this data to the database. So the first thing we'll do is we'll head back to BuildShip, and I'm going to add a node here. That's Firestore. We'll say Firestore create document, project ID. It's going to be the same project ID. Collection name is going to be called submissions with the S. Okay, we won't pass a document ID in because we want to create a new document ID. Okay. Merge false, and then this data is essentially going to match the same structure that we're creating here. So date submitted, challenge ID, and then full text feedback. So let's start by challenge ID. And then we'll do full text feedback. And here we'll do challenge ID. And then for the full text feedback, we'll do the OpenAI assistant response. Okay. And the biggest thing is that every one of these submissions needs a user, because every user will have many submissions. So we'll say document reference users. Okay. Just thinking here. Okay. So then what that means is we're actually going to need to send user ID to the API as well, because we don't actually have access to the user ID from BuildShip. That's like one of the downsides is that once you kind of decouple your front end from your back end, you need to make sure that the data between the front end and the back end actually exists through what we call inputs, right? Like that's what we're inputting into the API. So I'm adding a variable here for user ID, and then we'll drag user ID into this. Beautiful. I'll hit save. Okay. And then we'll go back here. And when I actually stop and submit the recording, in this API call, we need to add user ID and we'll set the value to authenticated user ID. Okay. So at least now I have that. Let me just make sure that I'm actually going to do user reference and we'll say document ID. I think that's the better one. Okay, cool. Have a bug. Navigate action for processing submission. Okay. Yeah. I'm almost there. Okay. Cool. So now at least our API call will get a user ID and we need to actually add that. That's awkward. Awkward. I love when things don't work. Hey, I wonder what's going on. That's weird. There's a bug. So weird. Weird. I'll send that over to their team right now. Cool. Anyways, what we'll do is essentially just like simulate user ID, but we do need to configure our node up here to accept the user ID. So definitely a little bit concerned about that. However, here, at least what we can do now is add user ID. Well, we can say submissions and it's actually user. So we'll say user equals variables request body. Say body dot user ID. Okay. So cool. At least now we create that submissions document. Fantastic. Then what we'll do is we will return submission ID. Ref.id. Good. This output already exists. The node is just not updated. So we can say ID, save. And here we should be able to just say submission ID, variables, create document ID. All right. Let's give this a shot. And for user ID here, I'll just put 1, 2, 3 and test workflow. Okay. Cool. Valid for value for argument data is not a valid Firestore argument. Found in field user body dot user ID. Oh, it's because I'm doing user ID like that. What did I do back at FlutterFlow? Am I sending user underscore ID? So this needs to be user underscore ID. There you go. Fantastic. So we got submission ID here. Good. So essentially now I have a submission back at Firebase. I'm going to open up my Firebase and check that out. Should have a submissions table here. And yeah, that exists. So I have challenge ID, full text feedback, and user. Nice. Cool. And I got a question from Peter. Um, what is BuildShip for? For API calls, like a backend builder between database and our FlutterFlow front end? Yes, absolutely. Peter, you should definitely watch my video on YouTube. It's called mm, 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 mm. Let me find it here. This one. BuildShip plus FlutterFlow, the only two tools you need. This was like my most popular video, but this will explain how BuildShip works and how I envision you guys using it in your um, daily lives and just like the architecture between FlutterFlow and BuildShip and how they would work together. Essentially, it's not going to sit between, it sits kind of next to everything. Like FlutterFlow and Firebase are tightly coupled so that like you can insert data really quickly from FlutterFlow and Firebase. But if you ever need to create more complex business logic or APIs, you can do that on the side with BuildShip and then integrate it using a REST API. You'll see a very detailed visual on that video, BuildShip FlutterFlow. So check that out there. Yeah, no worries at all. Okay. So cool. At least this works now. I'm happy about that. Um, happy about that. However, excuse me. The next step from here is to actually tell tell FlutterFlow that it can expect that challenge ID to come back from the API. So as you can see, actually, I don't think I hit save or ship. So that should actually ship it. Once it ships, I'll test it again, and then I'll configure FlutterFlow to actually look for these outputs. So test API call. Cool. And now you can see we have submission ID here. So I'm going to tell FlutterFlow, yep, look for submission ID. So I'll save this as submission ID. Then I'll say challenge data features. So I'll say challenge features. Challenge pain points. Challenge product name. Challenge product description. Challenge data JSON. Okay, cool. We'll save this stuff. Sounds good. Um, we'll save this. And the next step from here is going to be to actually update this processing submissions page. I'm going to add some page parameters. This page parameter is going to be submission ID because we're going to have the submission saved to the database before someone gets here. So essentially what's going to happen is we're going to accept a submission ID to this page. Then when somebody finishes recording and they're submitting it and we're navigating to the processing submission page, we'll pass submission ID. Action outputs, API result, JSON body, JSON path, or predefined path. We should have, why isn't this? Did I accidentally set the wrong type there? Oh, it's looking for a doc reference. That's why. So it's not going to be doc reference. It's going to be actually a string because we're going to be sending the submission ID in a string. Okay. This might be problematic, but we'll handle it. Not the submission ID, action outputs, API result, JSON body, predefined path. Now we can say submission ID, confirm. Okay, cool. So now we are sending the submission ID from this page to the processing page. And then what we got to do from here is send it from the processing page to the call summary page, which means our call summary page also needs to take in a submission ID, which is a string to required. Okay. And essentially what's going to happen is we are going to add a query here and query document from reference. And this is where I think it's going to get problematic. Submissions. Yeah, see, and we can't query it from reference. Filter one. Yeah. So we can't query from a collection without a proper document reference. So here's what we can do. We can do document from reference, and we'll just change this to submissions. We'll just start backtracking this a bit. We'll say this submission ID is a reference. So we'll say it is a document reference. Collection type is submission. So let's just make all this happy. So we'll say document from reference, submissions, submission ID, confirm. So let's just make this happy, right? Like that's my biggest goal is just to build a flow that's happy. And then we can always come back. We can always move backwards and figure it out. So yeah, the first thing I'm going to look at is when this response comes back, is there a way that I can save submission ID instead of a string? Can I save it as, I guess I could save it as anything. Not sure that's going to work either. Let's see. So from onboarding 3, or excuse me, processing submission, I want to redo this too. So submission ID is not a string. It's going to be a document reference. And the collection is a submission. Confirm. Okay. And then when I'm going from onboarding 3, processing submission. Yeah, see, this is broken. So we'll say submission, JSON body, predefined path. It still doesn't like it. here's what I can do. I can go JSON path and we can just say dot submission ID to data type. Hmm. Let me think here. So essentially what's happening is like my backend is returning a submission ID and my parameter here needs a document reference. So I'm actually going to refer to Superbrain and see what Superbrain has to say about all this madness. So we'll go to look like Phil, you tried to talk to Superbrain earlier and it didn't work. Not sure. I'm not sure if the mention bot is working yet. I think Abdullah is still working on it. You still need to react. Cool. To convert a string representation of a document ID, you can follow these steps. First, ensure that your schema in FlutterFlow expects a document reference type. For example, if you have a book collection, ensure that the field where the reference will be stored is set document reference. Good. Choose the correct Firestore collection redocument. Set the source to the variable holding. Hmm. I don't think that's the right move. I don't think that's the right move because that's exactly what I'm doing. So let me think through this. So let's go back to predefined here. Let's let's go back to this. We'll go processing submission. I'm going to change this back from document ID to string. And then we'll work backward from here. We will send the same stuff. Processing submission. I'll go parameter submission ID, submission ID. Fine. Good, good, good. So we'll send a text from onboarding 3 to processing submission. And then processing submission will wait 2 seconds and then it will navigate to all summary page. Okay. Processing submission. Navigate to call summary page. We're going to pass in a submission ID. and we can't necessarily pass in a piece of text. So I could do a custom function. Let's say accept a string, accept two parameters. String containing a document ID and a string for the Firebase collection name. Return a document reference of the so we'll go return value, doc reference, add arguments. We'll say document ID, and then we'll say collection name. Cool. And let's try to generate a custom function that will return me a document reference. Essentially, what I'm doing here is I need to convert a document ID string to a doc reference. And this actually looks good. I'm actually going to copy that over. Actually looks really good to me. So I'll say document ID, convert ID to document reference. Okay. Oops. And before I commit to using that, I'm actually going to head back to custom functions and test this first. So we'll say test function, document ID, go back to build ship. So we're going to try to say collection name submissions run. So essentially, if I pass in document ID and a collection name, it should return me a doc ref, but it's not. I got null error here. I don't necessarily like this one either. So let's scrap that idea. I have a different idea here. So we're still pushing the submission ID to the call summary page. That's good. Here's another option. We can go add. We can go database, Firestore, read document. Let's try something again here. Looks like somebody tried. Resolve, trying to create a document reference from a string. Custom action, get doc string ref. I see. Let's use this custom function. I like it. I like custom functions. So we'll say, it was a custom function or custom action? Custom action. So I'm going to have one argument for an ID, one argument for collection name. Essentially, what I'll do is I'll say, cool. Let's now, I wish there was a testing. I don't know why the compiler won't work. Let's see. I'm going to let this chill. Let's give it a shot. So essentially, I'm going to go back to, well, actually, I'm going to do it here. I'll tell you why in a second. Where is processing submission? I'm actually going to do it here. Why? Because I have time to do it. Because I'm going to be waiting for 2 seconds anyway. So at least I can get that database operation out of the way. So here's what I'll do. I will not wait. Let me delete all this. First, I'm going to run that custom function. I'm going to go custom action. Then I'm going to say ID. I get the ID. Collection name is submissions. And I'm going to say convert ID to reference. And then I'm going to navigate to call summary page, pass the submission ID, which is the result of this submissions reference. Okay, so it is like satisfied at a compile time level, it's satisfied, but at a runtime level, which means there's two differences. Like compile time is when the code is being read by the computer. It's like, oh yeah, this code makes sense. But then runtime is when the actual inputs are being sent through all the code. That's where we could have an issue. Because like at the top level, the code looks good, but when the inputs get shot through it, that's when we can have a problem. So here's what I'll do to test to see if this works. I will go to call summary and pretty much on page load, I'm going to just do a dialogue informational and I'll say document ref. I'm just going to output here the ref. See if we can get it to output. Okay. So I'm skeptical though, very skeptical. I'm always skeptical if I don't test something. If something's not textable, I'm skeptical. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one, I guess. Okay. Submission ID. Wish I could test this, man. I have one way of testing it in test mode, and actually that's probably where I'll leave off today. Is I want to test to make sure this works, and then we can try one more time. We can try to do the mobile testing tomorrow, but we made good progress. And I think I also rode way over on time for Comish. Okay. So here's what I'll do. I have an idea. What I'll do is I will do free training of the day. I'm going to, at the homepage level, when somebody hits start here, I'll hit add action, navigate to the processing submission, and I'm going to pass a submission ID. The submission ID I'll pass is the one that I get from my simulator of build ship. So let's instant reload this, and I think that should give us an opportunity to test this. I'm just trying to hack my way through testing this on web. Oh, nice. It worked. Okay, cool. So the document reference is coming out. It's working. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Except why is this mad at me now? Huh. Always something. So, it's because we're navigating to the call summary page and there's something up there. But here's what we got to do first. Add action, wait 2 seconds, navigate to call summary page with the response of the, yeah, good, good, good. That's fine. So let's test this one more time. But I think there's something happening at the call summary page level where doc reference. Okay, so we'll go pre-training of the day. Okay, it's waiting 2 seconds. Boom, gets the doc reference and moves me to the next page. Good. However, I just removed that query from the page. I just want to make sure I can go from page to page to page real quick. So start. Page keeps crashing. There's no like backend data here, so maybe it's crashing because of this action. Let's see what's going on. Okay, cool. So there's that. I want to test though, like I want to be able to do a informational dialogue, and I want to be able to say doc ref, and I'll put this document ID. Like that would be really cool if I can load this page, pop up the document ID, and show the page. I'll be very happy, and I'll know that my app is working the way it should. There you go. Nice. Cool. It's working. I'm gonna take this one step further just because I'm an addict and I'm going to see if I can get it to query now. So add query, query collection, submission, single document, filters. Wait, no, what am I doing? Query collection, single document. Wait, no, I want document from reference. Submissions, submission ID. Good. Now let's test that. This will be awesome because then I know I'm getting all my submission data here. I have a feeling I know what's going on. I might need to adjust my or deploy my Firestore rules. Submissions. It does look like that exists. I wonder what's going on. Let's check to see. Okay. There is something mad at me here. If I go to submissions, looks like things are good. We'll try this a couple more times before we call it a night. Hmm. I think it just has something to do with like the whole either the IDs or the security rules. Um, Thanks, Peter. I appreciate you staying up, man. Have a good night. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. These rules look good, and this light has been in my eyes for like 2 hours. Uh, the only thing I can think of is like if the types aren't matching up. I think there must be something going on in this custom action. So document reference firestore dot doc. So here, but we should get properties. Yeah, see, we have this submission ID. So the submission ID is there. Hmm. Mm, 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 mm. And this reference right here looks the exact same. I actually think there is a rules issue. The read is actually there. All right. I'm really stumped on this. And the thing is, this Stack trace is really cryptic too. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on. Submission ID is RS18. Here we have RS18. Weird. Hmm. As you can tell, I'm very keen on just coming up with some sort of direction for why this isn't working. Because I checked the code too, and the code looks fine. Like it's taking in this document reference. The only thing I can think of is like the submission ID is not a proper document reference, and that's why it's crashing. Cool. I'm gonna call it a night. I think I'm just beating a dead horse. Let me come back to this with a fresh head and we'll keep it going. But overall, good progress. I'm sure it's gonna be something that pops in my head. We'll keep working on it tomorrow. I'll hit you guys up. I'll send you an email a few minutes before we get started. But thanks for staying with me. Ron and Yitz, you guys are dope. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time and we'll keep moving. Thanks for your patience and giving me a chance to solve it. Take care.